Well, hey, Gundam Maniacs, welcome to another episode of Gundam Explained. We're on the 5th episode of Which for Mercury, and you know what? A lot of interesting things have been unfolding. In fact, I'm probably going to start guessing what may come of this stuff. As we watch this, please feel free to comment to maybe even correct or give your thoughts on some of the things that are happening here. There's some interesting stuff going on, so yeah, let's get into this. All right, before we get started, please subscribe if you haven't. And as you're watching the video, give it a like. It helps me out. And what also helps me out and could help you out is if you check the links in the description, there is the Discord channel, Patreon. You can even support on YouTube to get some benefits, to be part of the community. We can all hang out. Actually, we did that yesterday. We were supposed to watch Hathaway for movie night, and we couldn't get it to work. So we just hung out for a couple hours, played some Gundam Evolution. It was a lot of fun hanging with the supporters. Anyway, let's get started. What better way to start an episode of Gundam than by having a bunch of mobile suit fights? And in fact, with this, we're seeing some new ones we haven't seen before. I mean, we're seeing some cool skatey boy action going on. We're in a desert scene, new looking mobile suits. You know, from the distance, you can tell kind of like the hand-drawn or, you know, computer hand-drawn animation is not that sharp, but you kind of got to do that when you have a lot going on. In portraying like a badass battle like that. Wume, Osh, synchronize your timing. So we've got the support here. Also interesting how there's multiple mobile suits battling here. Look at how the arm looks like just a gigantic missile pod. You've got the shoulder mounted guns there. These are pretty sick designs. Now this one looks pretty cool. And I guess with the sort of gun thrusters that this one happens to have on its shoulders, it seems like it's able to like manipulate the environment like the sand. To get an edge on the battle. Another cool shot here before these things get destroyed. Biological data for enhanced person number 4. Number 4. 4? Okay. So biological data for enhanced person number 4. That sounds like a new type. It sounds like they got data from this battle for a new type that exists. That his name is number 4. By new type, I mean cyber new type. Enhanced person number 4. This is very interesting stuff here. So we've got the witches, perhaps. They're sitting around talking about the data or what's been going on with these battles, and it's like, okay, we talked about the aerial because it could potentially be a Gundam, but there hasn't been any data to show that it's affecting the user in any way. But now we have discussion that's going further into that for some reason, like it needs to further be explored. Interesting. So is the mobile suit itself hiding what it is doing? You know, in terms of not affecting the pilot to possibly kill them. That's what makes these things illegal. But as we see later in the episode, that might not be the case. It's something different. And actually, I think it's creating a new motivation for the series that we're going to see here shortly. Let's have enhanced person number 4 act on our behalf. So again, we're kind of getting further into this new sort of story that is emerging. And this enhanced person number 4 is actually Elan, Elan. It sounds like Elon Musk. Maybe they meant Elan. I don't know. But he's the person we met before that seemed to have an interest in Soletta. But he didn't really have an interest in her until after her battle with Duel. So I wonder, and then that whole rigmarole about or isn't that word rigmarole? And am I even using the right word? But anyway, about the whole thing about the aerial possibly being a Gundam, so they would have to ban it or whatever. But we saw that he was like researching that stuff anyway. And then now I guess he's kind of center here. After he had shown interest in Soletta, like a lot of things are starting to come together. I like to pause every once in a while just to show off a cool frame. I just love the look of this mobile suit in general. They've really done a good job of making them look cool because a lot of times the later Gundam shows and even just designs in general, I like to take the Michael Bay Transformer movies as an example. You put a lot of angularity and giblets around. I'm using a lot of crazy words today just to kind of give it the design of this mechanicalness. Whereas older Gundam was a little more deliberate in the design, where there's intention behind it. I'm seeing a little mix here, where there's a little bit of that intention behind the design, but also kind of over-designing the angular mechanical aspects of something. So, and still just calling out, I love the intro music. I love the outro music too. I don't know if it really is that it's good or I just enjoyed the show and the characters. So when I see the intros, it's like, hey, that's cool. All right, so we're back where the aerial's being repaired on. I love that we're looking at, the arm got damaged, and so we're kind of seeing where they're doing the repair work. So a lot of detail in this. This could be, like a matte painting where they spent a lot of time for some background shots. But then we see the team that Soletta has put together, or that was willing to work with her, and they're kind of help repairing So it's kind of cool to see the in-universe within the school. You have students that, and it's very interesting because it seems like they have different statuses because you could be a pilot or you could just be the engineer. And I wonder if there's more to the Spacian, Earthian, if you're part of a house or not. Like if there's more situations or issues people have because maybe they're not part of that status. Yeah, it's interesting because they're looking at this aerial Gundam and they're like, this thing is pretty amazing. Can't really figure it out, but they're trying to. That's kind of lending more to this being a unique mobile suit. Okay, and I want to talk about something real quick personally. There's this shot here where we see the camera slowly zooming in on the aerial face. One thing I like about this shot is we're seeing the eyes. Eyes are very important, more so for like human characters because there's a lot of expression, emotion with that. Not necessarily with inanimate characters, but you can still design eyes in a way depending on the situation. There is something going on. Like they're learning about the aerial, they're discovering that it's very interesting the way it's put together, and then they're talking about it. And then I love just like the shot that's kind of zooming in on the aerial head because reading that light novel makes it think this thing is sentient in a way, but it could be that was just kind of the gimmick of telling the story in that perspective. But depending on the level of sentience, this shot could be a big deal. It's highly detailed, zooming in on the eyes. This is something where I've always thought I've always wanted to make, a mobile suit Gundam. I say always. Once I got into Gundam, I realized that needed a live action adaptation. I know they're working on it. We haven't had confirmation of where it takes place. If it's its own timeline, UC, AU. If it had UC, there would be elements of me when we're showing the RX-78-2, it would be where the audience might think, wow, is this a character? But there's not going to be anything obvious that's showing, almost like with this aerial Gundam. If you read the light novel, it gives you the thought, could this be sentient? If you're just watching this frame, probably not. Still, I think that is a very important way to kind of express a possible characterization of a mechanical inanimate object like a mobile suit. Some goats and chickens, very Earth-like. But what's going on here? Cool, it's like a Ouija board. Interesting discussion coming out of this. She's asked questions about her mom, her dad. So this is what's interesting. Is this stone a brother, maybe? What's interesting about that is I feel like why would this be brought up if this doesn't have any meaning later on? Is there going to be some interesting twist where we find out maybe Elan? I'll have to listen to when they say his name. Could that be her brother in some way? And, some of it as well. We didn't see anything about that in the prologue. It sounded like she said Elan-san. Elan. Not Elon, not Elan, but Elan. Sound right? Anyway, he asked her out on a date. That's very interesting. Okay, so we saw that he was interested in her, but it's going so far as going on a date. I'm curious from the last episode. It looked like, hey, Suletta could have been easily just sleeping over at Miorine's house because they're friends. It could be that they're more than that. It's not like they really have to show that, but there's little subtleties you could pick on to maybe show that there's a romantic situation here. But then we have Ghoul, Miorine, and now Elan, and Suletta's in the middle of this. Again, sometimes when it comes to interest of another person, a character's motivations can really show who they are. But I'm still not completely convinced with what's going on here because she's wanting to go on that date with Elan, but Miorine is not happy about it, and neither is Ghoul. And so it's like, okay, then are these fighting for her now? I would think Ghoul would want to do it because it's for his dad more than it's for Suletta, even though it seemed there was like a tinge or a reaction he had in a previous episode with the duel against Suletta where it looked like Ghoul was like enamored with her. It's just since then it hasn't been that case. Maybe he was hoping that she would have the reaction that she would be happy to marry him and stick with that, but because she's not, that's why Ghoul acts in this rude way. But anyway, we're just creating this quadfecta. I was going to say trifecta, but there's too many people involved. Of this love quadrangle. And now she's talking with all the other friends she's made recently about what's going on, trying to decide, what's the best thing moving forward. And she's trying to... that's the thing with Suletta. She doesn't seem to use much words to kind of explain how she feels because she's kind of expressive, but then people don't really understand what she's getting at. And people are just assuming then who Suletta is interested in, and that's just causing a whole bunch of probably anxiety for her. We can see the little sweat mark coming down. I thought this was a cool shot. So Suletta's talking to her mom. We see her mom in her office, that Lady Prospera. And it's like nighttime. Suletta's just hanging out in her aerial. Just a cool shot. Again, like this seems like a very natural sort of thing that we can probably relate to. Okay, so talking on the phone with her mom, she's saying how she's going to be going out with someone. And she doesn't really know him that well. Or she didn't really say it's him or her. But anyway, her mom's just like, yeah, go out, get to know them. That's kind of how it works. And then this dude walks in and he's like, Pale Technologies is making their move. Now, that's the group Elon is with. And, we're starting to get an idea that, something's going on here with Ellen. I don't know. Pale Technologies. Yeah, let's keep going. Okay, so here's where the bomb drops because we're getting that for real confirmation of what's going on here. According to Elon, he's just been designed a certain way, right? To be able to interact with a mobile suit. Again, this is cyber new type stuff going on. So what's interesting is he's interested in Soletta. She can pilot a potential Gundam. He can pilot Gundams, but he has to because he's augmented for that. So then we're trying to understand, what is his motivation here? Is it where he's interested in her because they could be similar, or is he interested in her because she can do something he can't? Let's figure that out. Miorione's not happy about it. She's even being held back. This is kind of sad because, even Soletta's not explaining to Miorione what she's doing. I mean, if Miorione thinks she's in a relationship with Soletta, then what is this all about? And they're not talking? I don't know. Are they purposely making this ambiguous? It reminds me of Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway. What I've learned mainly in Japanese anime is when they're portraying two characters, especially characters that are like each other, a lot of times the characters will tend to act not on their intention, but kind of in real world awkward social scenarios. How you're not really explaining eloquently what is at hand so the other person can understand and move forward. A lot of times it's very emotion based. That's why I said, Solette is very expressive. A lot of times when something goes on, she doesn't answer right away and she more reacts to what is being presumed. Miorine is presuming that Soletta is going out on a date and she's like, why? But the audience then has to assume, okay, then that means Miorine and Soletta are really a couple, because in the last episode we saw them in her dorm and there was at night, stuff going on there, but they could be just friends hanging out. And again, why does it matter if we know their romantic involvement or not? Because if you look at the history of Gundam, many stories in general, this kind of helps build the motivation for the audience to understand where, and I guess on one hand, it's kind of cool that they're mixing this up because we don't really know what Soletta's intentions are. We know the Ariel's intentions. We know the mom's intentions. Soletta wants to get to know people. But why does she not go to Miorine and explain she just wants to get to know Elan? I don't know. And these girls run into custom drama saying, oh, Ghoul, Soletta's going on a date. So again, Miorine's mad. Now Ghoul. But I think it's because maybe he just wants to make sure he's securing the marriage so that it makes his father happy. So, okay, so this is very interesting because the date that they're on, Elan is asking Soletta to bring the Gundam, which kind of sets off some red flags for the viewer, right? In the cockpit, they're kind of talking, she's explaining to him that she's had this Gundam forever. It's like family ever since she was a kid. And I want to keep that in mind because that can explain some more things going on further. Now, it gets to a point where Soletta is asking for his birthday. Now, remember the whole Ouija board thing, the thing about the brother. So I'm just throwing this out here. Potentially, is there some sort of link here we don't know about? I don't know. There's more and more and more that makes Prospera or Soletta's mom seem kind of like a bad guy in a way. And so I think if there's some background with Elan being her brother, there must have been some more things that occurred that aren't too happy to have a family separated like this. But regardless, she's asking for his birthday, I guess, to get more information from that. And then immediately he's like, hey, can I just take off in your Gundam real quick? So didn't want to answer that question, but wants to be in the Gundam. At first, we saw that he was interested in Soletta, but now it seems like it's the Gundam. Is there a reason for that? Okay, so as Elan's in the aerial Gundam, he is setting the permit link. That's supposed to be what interacts biologically with the pilot. Can usually kill them. That's why the Gundams are usually banned. In this case, it had no effect. You didn't see any of that red glow in his body where his cybernetics are. He's seen that he can take full control of the Gundam and what it's capable of, but without having to affect him biologically. So I'm assuming in this situation, he probably feels like he's worthless, or I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's like he was born to be, he was modified to be able to pilot the Gundams without it affecting him. he thought by meeting Soletta he can meet someone like him, finding out that she's not like him because she doesn't have the cybernetics, but she's able to fully engage with the permit link. And that's where things kind of get interesting here because it seems like I don't know. So I'm curious, is he going to be mad about that? And then he's going to want to take the Gundam aerial for himself? Is it where he's just wanting to get more information on the technology? Is he mad that he's a cyber new type, number 4, and that he would rather be human? What we've done here, potentially set up a strong villain or maybe the real villain. Ghoul's more of like the school annoyance, but either the strong villain here or I don't know. Okay, so this is very interesting because when he gets out of the aerial, it's like he's a totally different person. He's even treating Soletta bad because he's like, I thought we were alike. And you can see the look on Soletta's face. She's kind of upset about the way he's acting because really it's almost a very selfish thing. It's like he liked her if she was like him, in terms of just material, the cybernetics. Finding out it's not, I guess he doesn't like her. I guess, I don't know. He's probably conflicted, but Ghoul shows up. And it's interesting because I guess he sees Soletta's a little upset because of how Elan was acting. And Ghoul is almost like mad at him for that. So it's still weird how I think Ghoul is mad that his dad is forcing marriage, that it was more of a loss of Ghoul that allowed him to potentially marry Soletta. It's like he's fulfilling his father's wishes, but by losing. It's like he could have fulfilled them by winning. It didn't work, so he's losing, and it's still working anyway. But he still sometimes seems protective, but it could be because he wants to hold his father's wishes, or it could be that really inside he kind of has these feelings for Soletta, but he doesn't feel like Soletta has feelings for him, so he's kind of, I don't know. Again, I think in Japanese anime, they do a really good job of being ambiguous about how people would really show anxiety when they're in relationships or trying to figure out other people. All right, so the hottie in the hot pants, she's talking about it's been a while since they've seen a duel among the 3 branches, because here's what's happening now is Ghoul is wanting to duel Elan Elan is wanting to duel Ghoul. They're wanting to duel each other, right? And whoever wins, the idea, if Elan wins, he wants to fight or duel Soletta to get her aerial. So now we're seeing these like degrees of duels. It's almost like sub-quests for the main quest, right? So I guess, yeah, the idea here is he gets the aerial because so this is where we're seeing some motivation. Elan wants to be able to control a mobile suit, a Gundam mobile suit, without it affecting his permit link. That's what's interesting about it is I wonder if Soletta, not any human maybe, but even Miorine was in the area, but she didn't necessarily activate any permit links. So it could be that someone that is a cyber new type or enhanced, I forget there was a terminology for it, they can access permit link interfaces without it affecting their permit link. But I guess Soletta can be in any Gundam, and it maybe it not affect that, but I don't know. Maybe we'll learn more about it. Okay, so someone just boarded Lauda's Delanza, and that's cool. And so a really cool looking mobile suit. Again, I'm really liking these designs. It's similar to what we've already been seeing. We're just kind of seeing the evolution of those suits, probably because manufactured by the house, the Jet Turk house or whatever. Loving this character. I like the mysteriousness, and just the painting the nails, kind of adding to kind of her personal, like, kind of self in a situation like that. I don't know. Just really cool side character. All right, there's the Gundam Ferract. So this is the suit that uses the Gundam the technology. This is where also that I guess Pale Technologies is now unleashing the Gundam, maybe due to now figuring out, Soletta can control a Gundam without it having to affect her. And so I guess they're probably moving forward, maybe just to be able to get the aerial Gundam, that technology themselves, to see if it has something to do with Soletta. I don't know. We're going to learn more about that. But just look at this design. This is a pretty sick looking mobile suit. And this is supposed to be a Gundam. Okay, that was pretty sick because in the smoke cloud, that seems to be kind of the tactic that's used. We see kind of the red. The permit is being established. The red is coming through, kind of has an evil look to it. You got to say, well done. Just another cool shot here. It's cool that we see with these Gundams, like with the aerial, how it has that red that sort of lights up on the unit itself. So we're seeing it here. That's how we know that they're related in some way. Awesome design, though. What do you guys think? It's giving me Wing vibes, I gotta say. Okay, and this thing has crazy bits flying out everywhere, the like remote drone stuff. Oh, and it looks like the Pale Technologies householder, whoever up there, the engineers and Prospero, they're talking real quick. I guess this is kind of his old friend. So they've known each other. Elan is with that group. Soletta is with, so it's like there could be some more history that we'll figure out. I like this line. So there was another witch all along. So this is expanding the world. When it came to the Gundam, we were thinking, on Mercury, that was the last of the development of the Gundam because they were illegal. But we see it was happening even with the top house anyway. So yeah, that's going to expand a lot of what's going to be happening. Really cool fight scene. I mean, really, I can't show everything. Obviously, a lot of time is spent with some awesome animation. So we have that Gundam Ferric that shoots out the bits, that shoots lasers that disable. It doesn't necessarily destroy, but it disables, although it does have the ability to also cut things. But it's interesting that it has different levels. Man, I mean, the Delanza Ghoul is getting destroyed. I mean, I would say stakes were kind of raised in this battle just in terms of capabilities because we're seeing flight, we're seeing fast movement, we're seeing a lot of debris going everywhere. So I guess and these pilots, Ghoul, it's unfair because he's been piloting against Gundams pretty much, which are technically superior for multiple reasons. It's like Ghoul could be a good pilot. It's just now he's getting his ass handed to him by actual new types / cyber new types. Witches versus cyber witches. All right, and like the way to win the duel is to cut off the antenna. The Gundam Ferrac, Elan just grabs the Delanza's antenna at the top and just yanks it off. I love the way it looks. You can kind of see like fluids flowing out as if it was like blood or guts. But yeah, Elan totally took out Ghoul. Okay, awesome shot there. Holding it up. I love that we see these Gundams doing non-fatal battles, but that I think what we're going to see in the future is the risks or the stakes being raised because some of the fights in the future are going to have to do with character death. Right now, we're not having to deal with character death. There was that one attempted assassination. The prologue had a lot of death in it, but so far we haven't had to really focus on death occurring. Your Gundam will be mine. All right, and that did it. I got to say, that was a great episode. Last episode was cool, but I was kind of like, what's going to be happening? But this one really did a good job of furthering a lot of different, it might have not been deep, but it was wide in terms of understanding motivations between houses, between characters. Now that we know more about Elan and being a potential cyber new type. I mean, 4, that's like so on the nose. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Is there any other critical story bits that I missed? I do like where this is going. It seems like the threats are going to be larger. We're going to start having lives at stake, potentially. The new mobile suits they're showing all look fantastic. I can't wait to build them. That's going to be a lot of fun. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Add some more stuff if I missed anything or something that you've come up with that sounds cool. Let us know in the comments below, but we'll talk later.